Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing. Today we get to learn more about someone whom the whole nation is getting to know better, and that is Tamara Day, who has taken her lifelong passion for design and found a national audience with the show Bargain Mansions, which appears on the DIY network as well as HGTV. The Kansas City born and bred Day co-stars in the series about taking rundown abandoned mansions in the Kansas City area and turning them into treasures with her father Ward Schrader, who she helped from a young age with renovations on the family's farm. Different steps along the way have led to the successful show, which is in its third season. Tamara and her husband bought a fixer-upper of their own in 2008, and she completely renovated that house. She also started attending estate sales and purchasing and restoring old furniture. Her flair for that started attracting attention as well as generating sales. Rather by happenstance, Tamara was chosen to star in the Bargain Mansion series when it began in 2017. She has done all this while raising her 4 children. With her supercharged energy and optimism, she tells the story much better than I ever could. So let's get to know Tamara Day a whole lot better. Next on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together. We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that. And moving on in age, as we all are, what do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. If they just contact me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
First of all, it's Tamara, right? And it's often not Tamara in your world. Is that correct?
Yes, it's usually some version of Tamara, Tamira. As long as it's not Tammy, I say hello.
You said that if it's somebody you're probably only going to speak with once, you don't bother to correct them.
Exactly.
Otherwise, maybe you do.
If it's going to go on, and I have to have a relationship with this person, we're gonna fix that first.
Right. So tell me what it was like to be a young girl growing up in this area on a farm, and say when you're 5, 6, 7 years old. What was that like?
I grew up moving around all over, actually, Iowa until I was 10 years old. But my grandparents on both my mom and dad's side are from western Kansas. So we spent summers in Kansas every summer, and we'd come back for every Christmas and all that kind of good stuff. So I kind of grew up with it and without it a little bit. But then when we moved here when I was 10, then, it became a little bit more of a real way of life.
And what was the reason for all the moving around?
So my dad actually worked in welding supply for lots of different companies. He'd go in and redo their businesses, kind of save businesses that were going under and then move on to the next business. And they moved him around quite a bit, and then he decided he wanted to put down roots back in Kansas, and Salina seemed like a good place to do it. So he worked at Leitner Welding Supply, that's no longer there, until I went away to college, actually. But we lived on a farm and had property, and then obviously my grandparents still had the cattle farm and the wheat farm and all the good stuff.
So what was teenage life like in Salina, Kansas for a farm girl?
Well, a lot of work. Dad likes to think of it as he was teaching me something, which he absolutely was, but it was definitely consequences related and lots of, this is family time, and there wasn't a ton of money, and there wasn't the ability to just go hire anybody to fix this or that. So it was a do-it-yourself mentality. Even when we weren't on a farm, it was always, we're going to do it ourselves. And every time we moved, they bought a house that was a new construction, and they finished off the main floor that needed to be lived on, and then the rest was left for us to do while we lived in it. So the basements were always unfinished, other spaces were always unfinished, and Dad was always working on stuff. And I remember one of my first memories of doing any kind of labor was being in timeout on the staircase and having to fill the nail holes with wood putty on the banister. And I'm pretty sure I was in timeout because I had been in timeout and picked out the wood putty.
So you created your own issue.
Yes. So I got put back in timeout to fill the holes because he had just finished doing it. He's like, well, if you can pick it out, you can put it back. And so I sat there and filled all the wood holes.
So when you lived on the farm, were you, Salina's not a huge place, but it's not a tiny town either.
Right.
How far out of town were you?
10 minutes. Yeah, not far, but on enough land that, when we built the house, we were scooping the manure that was out there and putting it around the pond and planting flowers in it and making it, a nice place to be. It was originally a cow farm that my parents bought and built a home on up on the hill, and it had 2 ponds, and so there were no trees. It was just pretty barren. And I remember in high school, Dad would argue with me if he was here, but I'm pretty certain every Saturday and Sunday of an entire summer was spent digging holes and planting trees, because that's how it felt. But it was my dad and my brother in front with the post hole digger, and me with a 5-gallon bucket of saplings, and I'd follow behind. They'd dig the hole, I'd put the sapling in, tamp down the dirt, move on to the next one all day long, every weekend. Until it was, I think they planted something like 40 or 50,000 trees.
Wow.
As sapling, or we planted the trees over the course of several years.
Is your brother your only sibling?
I'm the oldest of 4,
Okay.
2 brothers and a sister.
All right.
And we're all here in Kansas City now.
Well, that's great. That's great. What was your mom's approach to her existence as a farm wife?
Well, she grew up on a wheat farm and cattle farm. So she, was always there cooking and cleaning, very stereotypical farm wife role is what she grew up in. And I remember in the summertime when it was harvest and we'd go out to Grandpa's, it was, cooking all morning to get the lunch out to the guys on the field and the harvest crew. And it was everybody, all hands on deck to cook the fried chicken and the bread, and everything was homemade. And it was, I was in the assembly line as a kid, putting the soda can and the bread loaf in the bags, and there'd be 50 bags of lunch that went out to the farmers and everybody that was harvesting.
When you look back on it, or at the time itself, Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Or is it just something that, it was what we did?
I think it was more of a what you did, like I think the harvest crew time was always fun because it was exciting and you'd take the food out to the field and get to ride with Grandpa on the combine a little bit. And so it was a little bit more exciting during harvest. But then the rest of the year, there were lots of fun things about being on a farm. I remember the Milo fields in the fall, and my cousins and we'd go out in the Milo fields and we'd stamp down the Milo because it was taller than us, so we'd stamp it down and make little forts in the field and hang out, and we'd take a cooler of, soda and snacks and toilet paper and pretend we'd made a house and all that stuff. And that was really great until one summer my cousin thought he was really fun and had a great idea and got the riding lawnmower out there and basically cut down the field.
Well,
left a perimeter until my grandpa and my uncle were in the combine and looking down on the field. They're like, "Where did it go?"
Oh, no.
And then we didn't get to do that anymore.
I guess not. How would you describe your family life?
Oh, great. We worked a lot. I think that we worked more than most kids that lived in Salina that weren't farm kids. I look at the way my kids are growing up, and we don't have a farm that they get to work on. And they mow lawns, and it's just a very different way of living because it was a lot of work. We worked every day, all the time. Those trees had to get watered. There weren't sprinkler systems out in a field. So I was filling up a giant tank on the back of a pickup truck and driving it out there at night and spending hours by watering by hand every night. My kids don't have that experience. So it's just a different way of, looking at the world. Like I probably shouldn't say what they like to do, but they do. They like to climb buildings and play on roofs, and I won't say where.
There you go. You don't want the police coming out.
No, I don't need that.
When you got to high school age, was your life, did your life change? I mean, because you had high school activities, or was it still more of a farm existence?
I was never very coordinated, so I wasn't in any sports or cheer or any of that kind of stuff. I always worked. I think it was just ingrained in me as a kid. You work, and I wanted money, and so I got a job as soon as I could, and I worked every summer, and then as soon as I was old enough, I worked after school, and I just have always enjoyed working. So I think that the farm life taught me a really good work ethic.
Yeah. So would you describe your high school life as like not antisocial, but you really weren't involved with a lot of activities and such?
Yeah, I wasn't that involved. I tried different sports every once in a while. I tried tennis for a season and swimming for a season, but I didn't love that. And it always was like, well, I could be going and making money. I could go work instead of this. And so it just wasn't sports wasn't a priority to me. And so I think I enjoyed the working, but I always had camaraderie of other kids working too.
Right.
There were always it wasn't like an office. I was working in fun retail shops and doing kind of fun stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
Were there any big relationships in your high school years?
Oh, not really. Not anything I want my kids to know about.
Or your husband, maybe. Right. So you said you lived there until you went off to college. What was your sort of plan for life as you were approaching the end of your high school years, and where did you go to college and that?
Well, after high school, I went to K-State. I did actually a semester here at JUCO because I wanted the big city life, and didn't love JUCO because there was no community. It was a bunch of kids that knew each other from here, and coming from Salina, I knew no one, and so that was a really hard atmosphere to be in. Because there isn't campus life.
Right.
Right. So it was just
most of the people were commuter students.
Exactly. So there was no community to get involved in. So I went to Fort Hays State, which is where my dad was from, for a semester.
Right.
And really liked Fort Hays. I probably, in hindsight, would have liked to have stayed at Fort Hays State. It was a really good sized school for me. But I wanted something bigger, so I went to K-State, and I graduated from there with a communications degree.
So did you have designs on being in television or?
No, actually. I got a communication degree because I figured I'd be in sales, and that seemed like a good idea. I had no aspirations for television. The only thing that I will say in my past might have hinted at this is my high school yearbook. You're most likely to was to be a weather girl where it's always sunny.
That's an easy gig. So,
yeah,
weather girl in Phoenix,
and that would have fit me very well, as you can tell. I'm sitting in a heated blanket.
Right. Yeah, I had to turn the heater off. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm always cold.
It's a noisy
so.
heater.
But no, I had no aspirations in television, and my degree was more in speech writing.
Right.
It was, rhetoric and communications. I like to say I got a BS in BS. But
So when you got out of college, what was your idea of what to do?
Went right to sales. I never really liked sales. I did telecheck, where you sign a credit card or check and sell the machine to the different stores, kind of thing. And I don't even think that exists anymore now, right? Like, does anybody even write checks?
Not many.
So that was my first job. I did some pharmaceutical sales. I hated it, not very good at it. And it was just, there wasn't anything creative for me in sales that was enjoyable. And in hindsight, I didn't know design was a degree you could get.
Right.
And had I known that was like a career path, obviously that would have been a much better suited situation for me.
How did you meet your husband?
We met at Bartle Hall, actually, at a boat show.
Yeah. Wow. There you go.
Yes, we met at a boat show. He is a financial planner. His booth was next to mine. And I, in college, was working always, and I would do different booths, set up, and sell credit cards. Get your free T-shirt, sign up for a credit card. This was back in the day when everybody gave out their Social Security number without thinking. And so we'd gather, several thousand credit card applications at a boat show or a football game or whatever, and I managed a group of people that would work for me, and we'd have a booth set up at each end of the football stadium and have 3 or 4 cute girls working each booth, and managed the whole thing, and traveled for that in college. Did very well with it, actually. It was a lot of fun.
So how old were you when you met him?
Let's see. How old am I? We've been married 20 years this fall. And so I would have been like 23, 22, something like that.
Do you remember your first, the guys in the next booth? You're obviously an attractive lady. What happened? I mean, do you remember the initial?
He was dating somebody. I was dating somebody. But I met him, and he shook my hand. I said, Mom, I met this guy, and he just shook my hand a little bit too long. And, it was just, I really liked him. And I was dating somebody kind of off and on. He was dating somebody, and the other 2 people in his booth that he worked with, his business partner and mentor, actually, it was very interesting because the mentor said, well, now I know why the guys didn't mind me running late. and he, Mike was really cute. He's like, that Billy's going to be a good husband someday. So he saw the connection. And then Bill didn't call me for probably 6 months. He broke up with his girlfriend. I had broken up, and he called and he said, well, is Tamara there? I said, no.
Oh, no.
Nope, she's not. And he's like, oh, well, do you know when I can reach her? And I was like, are you a telemarketer? And then I was like, Tamara, it's Tamara. And the rest is history.
So how was this like sparks right away and cruise on into?
We dated for about 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it was just, I was still at K-State. He was here in Kansas City. He's a little bit older than I am, and it just went from there.
When you got married, and did that change what's your idea of what you might want to do at all? And because he's obviously in the financial world, mm-hmm. You would have children, obviously. So did anything change?
He did. His whole family did real estate growing up. He bought his first rental house when he was 16. And in college, he had, I think, a dozen houses. Renovating houses and owning property has always been in his DNA. And his parents, at the height of their accumulation, they had 75 rental properties. So he really grew up in this world. And when we got married, we bought a house that was a short sale and really rough condition. And that was probably my first, like, my parents had always bought new construction and finished it.
Right.
That was my first toe dip into renovating. And I really loved that. Like in college, I think the writing was on the wall that I liked design, because every apartment I was painting it and I was fixing this, I was fixing that, and more interested in that than going out, honestly. And I wish some advisor would have seen that kind of and given me a little better direction. But renovating that first house and then our next house, we fixed that up. And then in 2008, we had 3 babies and had bought our current house, which we like to consider our first bargain mansion, because it was a foreclosure and had been really badly let go and abused, actually. There were cats, there were teenagers living in it, it was real bad when we bought it. The first day I saw it, we'd been looking for almost a year when we finally bought it, and had sold our house. We wanted to sell our house before we bought something, and so we were living in a rental property. We moved out of our old house the week after Thomas was born. So 3 babies, 3, 2, and new. And we were living in this rental property and thought, oh, well, this will be easy to find something. We'll just live here for a few months and then find what we want. And it turned into a year of looking, because we just couldn't find everything we wanted in a house and the area and all that kind of stuff. And he was out of town, and I walked into the house and I was like, this is it. And I sent him pictures, and I'm like, I put an offer on it, just so you know. And it was, somebody had taken a baseball bat to all the appliances, kicked in the doors, the lights had been ripped out of the ceiling, there was trash everywhere. And we put an offer on it, and it was a very long, drawn-out process dealing with the foreclosure, and it took several months but we were sold on this being our house. Now, with all the issues that you saw, what was the appeal of it? Was it the basic structure, or and how old a home was it? It's an 80s home, and it was the neighborhood. We had like 5 criteria for our house that we really wanted, that like non-negotiables. 1, we wanted a flat driveway so the kids could ride around in the driveway. We wanted to be someplace that we could walk to things. So we can walk to town center from our house, or hen house. Like, everything is very walkable from our home now. So that was important to me. He wanted a front and a back staircase. That was a big thing on his list of wanting 2 staircases to go up. And that one was probably a little bit more negotiable than others, but we also really wanted a side entry garage and a walkout basement, which I would rather not have now. In hindsight, if I was doing this again, I would trade that one out for a master on the first floor. But that's not where we're at. So,
and you renovated this house kind of by yourself.
It was a really hard time. That was a really tough time for us. He was in the financial industry, and we had the 3 babies. And we started the process thinking, one thing, and then AIG fell, Lehman Brothers fell, and overnight the world was coming to an end. And so he worked day and night, and I worked on the house day and night. And he'd come to the house at night after working all day and sweep up and just check progress. And that was kind of his way of dealing with it. And the train was already moving by the time all of that happened. So the appliances, the high-end things that we had ordered, that train had already left the station. Those were ordered, they were on their way. There's no changing the direction of this plan. And you got to finish it. So we got to the end of it, and when we finished it in January, the bank called me and said, well, we gave you $10 to renovate this house, but you're going to need to give us $3 of those dollars back. And I was like, well, then come get the house. Like, no. You can't compare what we've done to this house to the one sale in the past 6 months. The comparable when we bought the house,
right,
to when we finished the house was not apples and apples. And I'm like, no way. And it ended up working out, obviously, and being just fine. But it was a very stressful time, and it was really hard. And so we didn't have a general contractor. I did the work. I did as much work as I could with a baby and a babysitter and my parents and my dad. And there's, a lot of things that got done really, really well, and a lot of things that we just said, we'll get done later. And now it's 11 years later. It's time to get them done. I've been working on all these other houses. It just kind of turned into at first it was like, well, now we need furniture. So I'll, renovate furniture. And then I started buying garage sale stuff. And that was kind of how my business started.
I was just curious for the dynamic within a relationship. He's obviously working very hard, but he's working in a financial area. You're working hard physically.
Yes.
Was there ever any jibe about, hey, look at my hands.
You're
I'm working
digging deep here.
I'm working my fingers to the bone. That's my job.
We were both, it was a very stressful time. 3 little kids in that economic climate with everything happening. It was definitely stressful, but we made it through it, and it was hard. But I truly believe that if that 2008 had not happened, we would not be sitting here right now, because that was kind of that house was really the catalyst for me starting my business of renovating furniture, because previous to 2008, we would have gone up to Nell Hills and bought all the new furniture we wanted, and I wouldn't have ever started renovating furniture and going to estate sales. So, there's a master plan that somebody else upstairs has for my life. And so I think that was the kickstart to everything. And it was also, somebody asked me once, like, do you consider yourself lucky? And I'm like, it's my husband's phrase. I'll give him credit on this one. It's better to be lucky than good. But I like to add to that and say it's better to be lucky than good if you're prepared for the luck. Because without having 2008 and the stressful time and the hardships of figuring these things out and learning how to navigate these waters and get to the end of that, I don't think I would have been prepared to do everything else that I've done.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey guys, it's Brian Haney, voice of the Jayhawks, and Matt Llewellyn from the 23rd Street Brewery. Matt, I've got a bunch of buddies coming over to watch the big game, and I need some ideas on what to cook.
Hey, let me handle it, Brian.
You're going to come over and cook for us?
For you? Maybe. But you should just let 23rd Street Brewery cater it. We could bring a big pan of Bill Self mac and cheese, wings, veggies, naked nachos, and anything else you might want.
Great. Well, you want to stick around and watch the game?
No, I've got to get back to the brewery and watch it on the big screen.
The place to get great catering and watch all the games, the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I've been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Our guest is Tamara Day. I'm going to pause and make sure I get it right every time. And obviously she is the co-star, along with her dad, Ward Schrader, of Bargain Mansions. We're working down the road to that, but why do you feel like you had a knack for restoring furniture so well? Because obviously you started doing it for yourself, but then it turned into a business eventually because people noticed it, or you ended up with too much and you had open houses, but people had to like your designs. What do you feel like is the genesis of you having the creativity and your design ideas work with people?
I think another reason 2008 was such a good thing for me is that it created a mentality in our culture, I think, of a reuse and repurpose mentality. Nobody could afford to go out and buy brand new furniture. It was a time that the shabby chic look was really popular, and I think that it was created because of necessity. People didn't have the money to go buy fancy high-end stuff. This was disposable price point of furniture, right? So instead of a $3,000 chest, it's a $300 chest because I bought it for $50 at an estate sale and I spent time painting it and refurnishing it. And for me, that was great at the time. You know, it was worth it. My kids were playing in the driveway. It was fun times. I think that the culture of the style at the time and the price point of my merchandise was a really good fit. And I think I learned to do it out of necessity. Like, I guess I'm never afraid to figure something out. I think I needed furniture in this giant house. We needed to figure out how to fill it up. So I just went and figured it out and started painting things in the driveway and filling it up. And then friends wanted it. And I was like, well, how much would you pay for that? And then I realized how much they would pay for it. I'm like, well, I can find you something. Well, yeah, take it. I'll go find something else for myself. And so I just started selling it and really enjoyed doing it. And then it just turned into these big open houses at my house that I'd stockpile merchandise for 6 months and then have the big sale.
And you got to the point where like 1,000 people would show up at these things.
Yeah, we had food trucks in the driveway. We had other vendors. I always brought other mompreneurs in on the deal. So we'd have, all kinds of, somebody doing jewelry, somebody doing handbags, somebody doing, actually somebody doing stationery, and she now works for me. She's out there in the retail store right now. She was selling stationery at the time, came to the sale, and then called me a few months later and asked me to help her design her house. And that was really how my interior design business started, was through the sales. People came to my house, saw the renovation I had done to the house, and said, whoa, can you help me with my kitchen? Can you help me with furnishing this? And so I just started working for other people, doing their renovations as a designer. And that's, it just kind of grew from there. And the open houses were a great way of getting people in the door.
What was it like going from a place where you were designing things for your own edification with your own eye to using other people's ideas, having to listen to other people, and maybe you thinking, well, that's not the best idea I ever saw. But
were you here 10 minutes ago?
or would these people generally lean on you more?
I think at first I probably didn't trust myself enough to push my concepts, and
right.
Oh, well, you don't like, okay, well, we'll figure it out, and just kind of, it was a learning curve for me as well, and learning how to charge for my time and how to make a profit on what I was doing. And I knew my design and my vision was good, but until you've done it a few times, it's hard to really trust yourself, right? And so it was definitely a learning curve with customers and that sort of thing, of how do you bring somebody else's vision to life in a way that fits the brand.
Your children are growing at this point in time.
They're giants
your
now.
husband is still working in that. As this is growing for you, obviously there's a lot of time. It's time consuming, and you're obviously an energetic person. But what were the challenges like of doing all of this?
Oh gosh, like I said, the furniture when I was just starting, that was just so much fun because the kids were little. It was the driveway days, big wheels and tricycles and that kind of thing. So I was with them all the time, and I incorporated that. They went with me to the estate sales and garage sales, and they each got $1 every day that we went, and they had to negotiate for whatever they wanted to buy. And we had the rule of, you have to ask permission. I will answer one time. It's a yes or a no. You can't negotiate with me. And nothing soft. It can't be a stuffed animal or fabric. I just didn't want that. And so they'd have to go talk to the adult and figure out how to negotiate for whatever toy they found in the estate sale or garage sale, and say, well, can you take 50 cents instead of $2 kind of thing. And so I think that really taught them how to make eye contact with adults and how to have conversations with adults, and I think that has served them very well over the years. But as they've grown and my business has grown, and I think you're catching the drift of my business name of Growing Days.
Right.
I've been growing my days with me, and they are a part of everything. They for everything they aren't doing farm wise, they are doing retail wise, and building houses. So when we get a giant shipment of merchandise for the store, they have to come help unload it and open boxes and help put price tags on it, and they love it just as much as I did as a kid.
So just a different version of the same thing, kind of.
Exactly.
And ironically enough, you have 4 children, and you grew up in a family of 4 children.
Exactly. So I think that there's definitely, I definitely miss more things than I would like to because of how much I work. But I think that for all the things that I miss, they are also learning a lot of valuable lessons from what I'm doing. One of the biggest ones is there's no limit to your dreams. I would not have dreamed this dream. I would have maybe dreamed of a store. I've probably always wanted a store, but television was never on my radar. And so when it became something to dream about, taking that dream to each next step that led to it happening is, I think, a really valuable lesson. Like, if you can dream it, you can do it. And figuring it out is not impossible. And I think that teaching them the value of how hard you have to work to make those dreams come true is very valuable as well.
The process of you becoming a television star, as it were, it was a long one, and it was your brother was involved in it. He was the person maybe who originally could have done a show like this.
Both my brothers.
And both of them. Okay, I didn't know that part. Need a different story.
Yes.
So talk about the 5-year-long process of you getting to do the show.
So my brother Ben was renovating a house on Jefferson Street. And side note, we did one of the houses from season 2 was 3 doors down from that house. Just kind of a full circle moment there. But he was renovating that house about 10 years ago and was in a local hardware store, and somebody stopped him and said, "Oh, you'd be great for a commercial. Would you want to do this?" And he said, "Oh, sounds fun, whatever," and gave her his name and number. And nothing ever came of it. And then she called him, I guess almost 6 years ago now, and asked if he'd be interested. This guy, Matt, has moved back from LA. He's casting for different stuff. She thought he'd be a good fit. And he's like, I work at Cerner. I've got a kid and a wife. I'm all not interested. And, but my other brother makes tables if you want to talk to him. And so she called my other brother and introduced him to Matt. And Matt said, thanks, but I can't make a TV show about tables. So no thanks. And Caleb left and turned around and was like, I don't know what you're looking for, but my sister's kind of cool. She does some neat stuff with houses and you might want to meet her. And Matt said, yeah, he looked me up and was like, yeah, I want to meet her. And Caleb called me. He's like, this guy makes TV shows in Kansas, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. This is some kind of a scam. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And he talked me into coming down and meeting Matt, and I was like, well, like I did seem legit. Like he seems to know what he's doing, and he's done a lot of TV shows. And probably nothing will ever happen. And then he called 2 weeks later and said, I'd like to pitch the show to the network if you're interested. And I was like, sounds good, whatever. Never really thinking it would happen. I mean, the odds are, I have better odds of winning the lottery, right? Like, than hosting a HGTV show in Kansas City is really, I should play the Powerball.
So after the initial, hey, this probably isn't going to happen, what are the mechanics of, there's a lot of content on television now. This isn't a, CBS show where you're going to have to act or anything, but
right.
This is a reality type of show. What was the process of him getting the show sold and you starting it up? And you said before that you learned how to know what your furniture was worth and everything else. How would you know what you were worth as a television personality?
You don't. I think that going into this, it was we were blind and didn't know really what the process would look like. I think it started with an initial Skype interview that was recorded, and they said, yeah, we'll see her again. But then it was we'll record for a half a day at your house, and then it was, but like one little step to the next of, well, now we'll film a whole day, and now we'll film this thing, but between each of those steps was 4 or 5 months of time would go past of, this isn't going to happen. I've forgotten that we've even done that at this point. And so
when you're going through these little steps and there isn't a show yet, did they pay you?
No.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Nope. There was no pay at those little steps. It was all just time. But there was no cost either. It didn't cost me any money to do it. I would not have paid money to do it because I didn't really think it would happen. It just seemed like a fun thing to try. Mm-hmm. And, it'll be cool that I tried. And, we got a pilot. Awesome. That'll be fun that I got to do that. And then, we got a whole season. Okay. That's fun. Let's do that. And now here we are getting ready to wrap up season 3.
What was the idea behind having your father be part of the show?
Dad actually came to set to watch filming and see what was happening when we shot the pilot or maybe one of the sizzle reels. And he was fun and funny and helpful and just kind of somehow worked into it.
And obviously the show has caught on. As it has evolved, how has it changed? How has your knowledge of the television business and your ability to make the show better or make suggestions? How has that occurred? I think that
when people watch season 3, there's a lot that's changed since season 1, and my comfort level just being on camera. I have no training in being on camera. I have never, until this, I had never even done anything. So I think my comfort level, my understanding of light and angles has changed in a new way. And so when I'm designing now, I have a perspective of there's a different way to design for how you live versus how you film a show. And so when we're staging a house, I'm not always, in season 1, I designed it the way I would for a client or for myself or how I would want to live in that space. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't always translate on camera. And so learning how to make the entire space look interesting. But in real life, it's probably too much is my opinion. If you pay a lot of attention, when the camera pans a room, there's a piece of art on every wall. There's no mirrors because you don't want to see the camera.
Right.
And so you also don't want a big blank wall.
Right.
So in real life, would I ever put 5 pieces of art in a room? Probably not. But on TV, it adds color and life to the space, and you don't have these vast blank spaces of the room. So it's a lot more interesting. So it's things like, now I think about the furniture placement from a camera angle, not
Right.
just a living angle.
What is the process of choosing the homes?
Oh gosh, it's just the right one comes along at the right time.
But you, during the course, obviously you spend a reasonably short amount of time taping the season. So during the off season, as it were, are you just thinking about homes that would fit, or?
We're always looking for homes, always looking for the right fit for what we're doing. And, it's just a matter of logistics.
What was the idea behind mansions as opposed to, like, when you made your Forever home, you created a home out of a 1980s home, not a mansion.
Right.
But for the television show, it's mansions. What was that idea?
So when Matt moved back from LA, he went to a party at somebody's house, and it was a house downtown that he'd never, he'd never seen a house like this. He's like, what? This is crazy, right? And then they said, yeah, we paid $25,000 for it. And he's like, you did what? Like, that's crazy talk. And it was a big old house downtown. And coming from LA, the before would have been $1 million house, right? So it was just shocking
Right.
for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the appeals of the show too, is the price of living here is so reasonable. And so the coasts it's hard for them to relate to getting a home this size for that price. And the national average size home, I believe, is like 2,500 square feet if you average it nationally. So it was kind of this wow factor for Matt, and our house definitely fit that description. It may not be an old mansion, but it's a big house. It's
Right.
5,000 square feet. It's not small, but we have a lot of people living in it too. So that was kind of the genesis of the concept, is Matt being so amazed at the prices of homes. I'm working on lots of these things, and it just kind of worked.
What is the reaction of your husband and your children each, if you can deal with it separately, to Mom being a star?
I think each child would say something different. My husband loves it. It's a lot of fun. He loves it when it's filming days and they get to be on it. He really enjoys it a lot. My oldest son could do without it. He just doesn't want to film. We just did a scene at home where he was helping make cookies with my baby girl, and I'm like, so how's school? He's like, good. But he's also 16 and
Right.
And has a whole vocabulary of like, so he's just at that age. My second son absolutely loves it. He's so great on camera and just loves doing it, just really enjoys it. My third son is a little bit more reserved, but he kind of enjoys it, but he's like, well, I'm 12, I'm thinking this through. And my daughter is like, steals the show every time. Loves it. Loves every second of it.
What do you feel like obviously you've been, re-upped, and the show has created even greater success. What do you feel like the future is?
Oh gosh, I wish I could project. I wish I could even guess where this is all going. It's just been such a great year of season 3, and I think the houses this year are bigger and better than they've been in the past. I think there's a lot more. As the show has grown, I've become more bold in my designs, and a little braver with tile choices and lighting and color in particular. So I think these episodes, I think speaking back to like living versus camera and how that design has changed, it really I see how impactful color is on camera. And so we've really infused a lot more color into this season of houses. And I love it. They're so fun. It's a lot more, it's bolder this season, I think. So I feel like people are going to really love seeing what we've done this year, and also getting, Extreme Makeover aired Sunday, I think it was. That was crazy awesome to get to be a part of. That family was so deserving, and just seeing the gratefulness and the joy of what they had been through and where they had come to, like even before being on Extreme, they were just grateful to be in America. And that was really touching. But then getting to change their lives in the way that the show did was pretty phenomenal experience to get to be a part of. And then Dream Home 2020 was also crazy awesome. Like, that was a career dream. When I got the call, I was like, what? I get to do what?
Right.
So I can't even guess what's next. The sky's the limit, I guess.
Well, one of the things that's next is where we're sitting, which is your new business and Growing Days, and it's. What was your idea behind that, and what was your idea to take on something else after? I'm not surprised sitting here with you, but I mean, you do 80 million things, and here's 81, and building a business is a difficult thing.
Exactly. For the past 2 years, I've staged all the houses myself. All that furniture and inventory is, a lot of it's my own. And so I've had a warehouse for the past few years full of merchandise, and also our offices. And so I was paying for a warehouse full of stuff that wasn't selling because it's a warehouse and nobody's shopping it. And my thought was, well, why not just have a store? If I'm already inventorying and warehousing this much merchandise, why don't we just turn it into a store? And then I can just get new stuff all the time to stage with. So I can refresh my look. And it seemed like an easy thing. So we'll just open a store.
What do you feel? What's your state of mind right now about all that's happened to you and all that is continuing to happen to you?
Day by day is different. I would say there are, just like anything else, it's tons and tons of fun, but it's a ton of work, and I work really hard, and I work a lot of hours, and I think it's all paying off. The store is definitely one of my favorite parts of this. I love having a store. I love coming in and seeing all the pretty things that I bought and reimagining how they can live in my vision instead of just a showroom's vision. I think all of it's just been really fascinating. Like, the whole thing is just fascinating.
And finally, you obviously make public appearances outside of your work now, and one of those will be at the home show at Bartle Hall on the 14th on a Saturday at 2 p.m. I get everything in there, honey? What's it like now interacting with people who see you, you meet these people because they know you from television. Yes, they like, people came to your open houses and saw your designs and everything, but now a lot of them will be starstruck or want to pick your brain about design ideas. What's that like, interacting with the public?
It's that is one of the strangest parts of all of it, honestly. The home show, I remember the first year that we did the home show together, I was terrified of speaking in public. Like, literally, I probably should have taken a bottle of Xanax before I did that. I was so nervous. And made it through. I was like, okay. And then the next year was a little bit better. And now I'm like, oh, okay, when is that? Where am I supposed to be? It's just become so much more comfortable. But meeting people at the home show is super fun because I'm expecting it. And it's like, I know what to expect. They're going to come and they're going to talk to me and take pictures and be fun and awesome. And that's great. But when I'm at the grocery store in my sweatpants on Saturday morning and somebody's like, oh, Tamara, I'm like, do I know you? It takes me a minute to realize it. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I remember where I'm at. So it depends on where I'm at, how I feel about it. Sometimes it's startling and surprising because I don't know that I'm even used to it yet. And, it's just an interesting thing. My favorite ones, though, are the little girls. I love when little girls come up and say, I love your show. I want to do what you do. I don't think I realized I don't think I realized how many little girls watch HGTV. Like, that was a surprise, but they love it. And they're one of my favorite fans because they always just are super sweet and so excited. And I can see that I'm inspiring young girls.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.